If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call Parents and Addicts in Need at 559-579-1551 or check us out online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media at Pain Nonprofit. Please subscribe to the podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts. To donate, please click the link in the description and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.
I overdosed in my car in the parking lot of the hospital after my best friend passed away, and I was dead in my car. A stranger walked by, saw me with the needle still in my arm, just happened to have Narcan on him.
Wow.
Opened my door, hit me with Narcan, got me back up, didn't say a word to me, just walked away. And I'm like coming to, and I'm like, yo. And he just turns around, smiles, doesn't say a word, and just keeps walking.
Don't Hide the Scars, a weekly podcast focused on addiction and recovery. Created by the nonprofit Pain, Parents and Addicts in Need, and founded by Flindt Andersen.
Skinny Vinny, thanks for joining myself, Jason, and Flindt Andersen, founder of Pain, on the Don't Hide the Scars podcast. I almost said I'm Flindt Andersen.
That's okay, Jason. Anytime you can be me.
Oh shit! How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. It's always fun talking with you. And Flindt, nice to meet you.
Same here, Vinny. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I'm stoked. Let's get this shit going.
Let's get it.
I was showing Flindt. He's like, well, tell me a little bit about Vinny. So show him America's Got Talent. And I'm like, he's the one jumping on his friends.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's I guess to describe or explain who I am or what I do, I'm just I like how Zach puts it, a professional idiot. Yeah, and we just stunts, pranks, and now I guess you could I could put actor under there, producer, sound engineer, a little bit of everything. When it comes to entertainment, I'm a little bit of everything.
Well, you're on here because obviously a very busy man. You're working with Steve-O, helping with some of the stuff with Wild Ride.
Yeah.
All this stuff was your dream when you were a kid, but becoming an addict was not.
No. It was actually so far opposite, because I grew up with it. I grew up with 95% of my family's in some way, shape, or form alcoholic or addict, and I saw what it did. I saw what it took from my family. I saw what it took from friends, and I wanted the complete opposite. I wanted nothing to do with it. Right. And growing up with a normal childhood, smoking weed in high school, and then you take it and run with it. For me, it was more like, because I've been an attention whore from the womb, and I have that craving of like needing to be liked and needing to fit in.
Sure.
So it's like when I found smoking weed, it was something that and I felt like, and then I started selling it. So it's like, I felt like everybody needed me, and then like everybody wanted me at the parties and everybody wanted me around because I had the drugs and all that shit. So I just took it and ran with it. It was, and I love the feeling of getting high. And after doing all the steps and everything and like doing a lot of internal work on myself, I now realize and understand like what the main reasons why I loved it so much. Obviously, it's like numbing feelings and numbing emotions and filling some sort of void and just taking it and running hard with it. Just going so hard. I like even today I consider myself an extremist, and even in sobriety and everything I do, I just go full throttle.
Vinny, my I had a one-word mantra, and it was more.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
That's it. More.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right, and it's never enough.
You never.
Yeah. But okay, Mr. 70-80 Viking in a day.
Oh yeah.
Flint's got this story. Give the abbreviated version of when you're in rehab and when they found your pill bottles.
Vinny, Vinny, I never knew what to do with the empty pill bottles, because God forbid I could throw them in the garbage can at home and everybody think I was a drug addict, right? But they all knew anyway. So I would take these things and I'd put them in a 33-gallon hefty garbage bag, and I'd throw them up in the rafters of my garage, knowing that someday I'm gonna bury them or take them to the dump, whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
So I'm down into my third and final rehab, and I call home. Nobody wants to listen to me. And when I was there, my family decided my mother-in-law was going to move in with us, which was just a thrill, knowing when I get out of treatment, my mother-in-law's going to be there.
Yeah.
So that my brother-in-laws, they tore down our garage side and built a mother-in-law suite. And when the construction guys came in there and tore down the ceiling, 4 33-gallon garbage bags stuffed with empty pill bottles came crashing down on the workers' heads. And we figured there were somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000 empty bottles sitting in there.
Oh my God.
And when I called home, my wife, who really doesn't swear, okay, she says, "We found your fucking pill bottles." And she hung up the phone. And
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's great. That's like a story that I would love to see animated. Like somebody like animate that story. Yeah.
Let's do it. I mean,
yeah.
Okay, Vinny, you're that's new task for you. We're working on this project. Because I'm going to get this guy to write a book, but we're going to do some audio video companion pieces.
Oh, sick.
So for you though, like with childhood, you said it was there present. I know Mom, but you did lose your dad too. So I know that's a serious trauma.
Yeah, I did. I was 2 and I believe he was 31. It wasn't, he was hit by a drunk driver when he was on his Harley. So he didn't die from his own drug abuse or alcoholism. It was somebody else's, and it was, and my mom just like, that was like her 3rd husband that has passed away in some shape or form. And after him, she kind of gave up and, which I don't blame her. And she just, went back to using drugs and alcohol because she was using pretty hard before she met my father. And then, when she met my father, she kind of slowed down and wanted to start a family. And, but after she lost him, it was just like, okay, full throttle again, and, she's a full blown heroin addict. And, I have an older sister who kind of left home at a young age. So it was just me and my mom growing up, it was, and she did the best that she could to raise me, under the circumstances and what we had, we didn't have money. We didn't have much, but she still worked her ass off, a fucking 9 to 5 every day. She was able to keep her. She wasn't like me. I was never able to keep a job. She was able to keep a gnarly job working with Yale University. And, she raised me the best she could, but still was, addicted to heroin. And when I got to a young age, like a certain age, I would go snooping in the room and like find needles and bags and stuff. And so I was introduced to it at a very young age, and it was like almost the norm though. It was just like everybody, like my father's side of the family, all old school traditional Italians, so everybody's drinking, and even some of them are drug addicts, and then my mom's side of the family, mostly alcoholics, and some, like my mom was the drug addict, and it was just everywhere around me. So that's why I was like, okay, I don't want anything to do with any of that. And
so Vinny, when you saw those drugs, when you were snooping around, did it give you sort of an excited feel? Because that's what it would have done to me. I always had with opiates. I always had that, oh man, there it is kind of a thing. Yeah.
So when I was really young at that point, I was maybe somewhere like 7, 8, 9. When I would snoop around her room and find that shit. And so it was more of like a sadness, than anything. And then there was a point where there was a day that I remember like yesterday, and I tell this every fucking thing that I do is, my mom picked me up from school one day and she started nodding off at the wheel on the way home. And, I was 10 or 11 and, I start crying and I'm like, look, you've lost my father. We've lost my father. My sister's not around anymore. If you keep doing this shit, you're going to lose me and you're going to be alone for the rest of your life. And the next day she started the methadone program and never touched a needle again. And she's still on the methadone program today. She was on 120 milligrams for like 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And
wow.
And the last, since I've gotten sober, within these last 5 years, she's been trying to taper down and she's off. She's down 50%.
Great.
So yeah, but she's very scared to go completely off. She's older and she's not as strong anymore, and she's just afraid that it's going to kill her.
Vinny, can I ask you this because I was actually on methadone as well.
Mm-hmm.
It took me 2 years to get off of it,
Yeah.
and they also started me at 120 milligrams because that's the highest legal dose that they can give you, and so it took me 2 years to taper off, and the problem. Look, and if you don't mind me asking, how old's your mom?
She's 62.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
62.
Right. Okay. So listen, man, the first thing is it's keeping her off the needle, right? And that is important.
Yeah.
But methadone, though, it's going to take her, and I don't even know her, and I'm proud of her for coming down 50% off of this shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Because this stuff is almost impossible to get off of.
For sure.
The biggest part of getting finally off of methadone totally, it's that psychological piece.
Yeah.
Because we were on something for so long, and we're tapering it down, and you get down to that last 5 milligrams, 4 milligrams, 3 milligrams, and you're going, oh shit, I don't know if I can do this, because the psychological comes into play here. But like I said, the good part is that it's kept her off the needle. And you know what? And maybe at 62 and up, hey man, maybe maybe that's just the way it has to be for her.
Yeah, and I've kind of accepted that, because when I first got sober, I was very by the book. I was very like, look, you have to do this. You got to do this. It's the only way you're going to be happy. All this shit. And I was kind of like, I don't want to use the word brainwashed, but I was so because I was so involved with the program, and I was so involved with treatment, and it was ingrained in my brain, and I thought that was the only way to like become a quote unquote normal person, and quote unquote happy, and then it took me a few years to really accept that this might be the way, and I'm okay with that now. Right. I'm totally cool with that. As long as, look, I just want my mom to be happy. That's all I want. Happy and healthy.
Yep.
And yeah, it just comes down to that. And if it takes, she was on, for her being on it for so long and such a high dose for so long, she went through chemotherapy a few times, and the doctors wouldn't prescribe her pain maintenance because she was on methadone.
Right.
So she was also using that as pain maintenance.
Right.
So now it's just like, I feel like it's like past the point of no return. But again, I'm okay with that. She's happy. And I think the main thing that she wanted was just for me to be happy and healthy, and now that I've succeeded in that, and I'm not just living, I'm fucking thriving. And it's she sees that, and I think that's all she wanted. And now she could just like finally relax.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's that guilt of the parent addict to the child.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I worry about it watching my kids. I'm like, oh God, which one has some of those traits?
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, teenage years, here we fucking go, man. Here we go. But it also, Flindt, like on what you were saying, that psychological dependency makes me think back, and I'm sure I know you've talked about it here on the podcast, but that kind of having the anxiety or whatever it is. And for me, the liquor bottle, and then grabbing the bottle, and then it's like, it's gone.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That hunt to the dealer. We were talking Dr. Rob Kelly. I don't know if you remember him, Vinny.
I don't think so.
Some of the other conversations, I'll send you the link for the talk we had with him, but he's talking about that psychological factor that's there. And they did a brain study on different addicts, and when the biggest spike at any brain activity was the process of going to the dealer and actually getting the drug or
for sure,
alcohol or whatever over the actual use of said substance.
Absolutely. Yeah. I used to say that all the time too. It wasn't just the act of getting high. It was the whole ritual.
The whole routine.
The whole routine, it's like the calling the guy, driving down there, getting set up, getting my spoon ready, getting my tie ready. It was the whole routine. And then the icing on the cake was getting high.
Course.
You know, and
and that's what I explain to parents. Addiction is as much behavioral as it is a physical addiction. And I'll explain to parents, look, you get up every morning to have your coffee and you put 2 teaspoons of sugar in it. You read the paper, you watch Good Morning America, you have your second cup, and you do that every day for, 20 years. Well, you're not going to suddenly do something different tomorrow morning. It's the same with the addicts routine. That's what we do. We go through it, and breaking that routine. Jesus, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the hard part. We can get somebody clean. Okay. It's changing that behavior after we get them clean. That is critical.
I mean, that was the biggest part for me. It was the whole, it was the same every day. It was the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
Every single day for 12 years. And,
Groundhog Day.
Yeah. Yeah. And my brain just got so used to it. And I feel like that's human nature in general. Humans just routine and consistency is what they crave, and and it was just the thrill of it all too.
Oh yeah, sure.
It was just every aspect of it was just so addicting.
New Perceptions North, the premier drug and alcohol treatment and recovery center in Central California. A full continuum of medically supervised, top-quality care with programs for detox, inpatient residential treatment with dual diagnosis, intensive outpatient treatment, sober living, support groups, and more. With 50-plus years of combined experience and sobriety, Flindt, Andersen, and Thelma Gatlin Wilson provide adult men and women with the highest caliber of professional health care, treating each client with compassion and respect, and a safe, comfortable environment. To begin the process of recovery, to proudly create and sustain a life without addiction, call 559-978-1507 or visit newperceptionsnorth.com.
Well, and again, I think a lot of us are that, those besides being drug addicts, okay, we're addicted to the thrill. We're addicted to the hunt of it all, and the excitement of it, and that danger piece, and taking it right up to the fucking wall. Yeah. All right. And we thrive on that. I mean, at least I did. I mean, I remember going down to Mexico. This is pre 9/11, of course. And filling up my pockets with every narcotic I could find. With a 9mm in the back of my pants, and walking across the border, and not even worrying about it, but that excitement of, am I going to make it? I feel like that shit.
Yeah, I know. I feel like that part of it has bled into my life today, because I kind of tie in the thrill of what I do today, the thrill of hunting for the next stunt, the thrill of looking for the next thing that's going to get me a little bit more notoriety, the thing that's going to put a little bit more money in my pocket, and the thrill of like, what's going to get me more attention. It's like back to being an attention whore.
Yeah. But a sober attention whore.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
For sure. Yeah. And I will straight up, I told my girl that on our first date, I was like, hey, I just want to let you know I am the biggest attention whore, and I have needs. Yeah.
But I think that's part of being in recovery, working your recovery, is that you get to kind of the core of yourself and just go, you get good with yourself. Like, fuck, this is who I am. Cause I struggle. I recently spoke with someone that, kind of a life coach guy. And he's like, nah, dude, you're not talking about ego or arrogance. You're talking about being a service. So it's okay. Get out there. Go ahead. Be in people's faces. It doesn't make you ego, Phil. You got shit to say. Do it.
Yeah. And then if I don't get like a speech engagement or something, it's like, what the fuck? Why didn't I get that? Okay. I'm better than that guy. Sure. I mean, all that crap comes into play.
Yep.
But it's that daily practice of the shit we got to keep in check, right?
In check. Yeah.
And sometimes I forget that. Sometimes it's very, very easy for me to forget that, right. And it's like, especially like, because I've been able to build this crazy, beautiful, full life that I've built in such a short amount of time, my brain starts going into crazy, dark places where I'm just like, oh, I've been able to do this So I'm better than that. Or even when it comes down to the program, it's like, oh, I'm almost 5 years sober and I've built this life. I just got a house. I have all these bullshit material things in my life. I have a beautiful girlfriend. I'm still sober. I don't need to hit meetings. I don't need to do sponsor work. I don't need to do that. It's so easy for me. Like my brain just goes into crazy places. And every day I just have to like remind myself to stay in gratitude and humble myself. And it's fucking crazy.
It's hard to humble ourselves when we're not all that humble to begin with.
Exactly. Dude, it's so unbelievably crazy the places that my brain goes. It's like example, when I went to go meet my girlfriend for the first time, we met online and she's so gorgeous. The whole time I'm thinking this is too good to be true. Right. So now my brain starts going into these places like, oh, she's got to know who I am. So I'm going to get set up to get robbed, and then I'm like, okay, let me try it. So I pick her up at her house. It's dark out. My brain is going crazy. I turn the car off, turn all the lights off, roll the windows, lock the doors. I'm sitting in my seat like this, looking around, making sure that nobody's gonna rob me. That's fucking insane. It's like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but for a guy that you were living on the streets, using a Porta-Potty water, gutter rainwater to get your fix of heroin, you've kind of lived out on the edge of fight or flight.
Touche.
But I had a talk with my sponsor, and I think we talked about this in your office, but not here on the podcast. And he's like, all right, dude, life list, let's go. What's going on? Like, how are the kids? Are they safe, healthy? Yeah. Okay. How's your relationship? Going great. She's awesome. It's easy. I can talk about anything. She owns her feelings. I own my feelings. How's work? Well, finances could be better, but I'm passionate about what I do. I mean, everybody would love to make more money, all that stuff. He goes, so you're telling me there's not a fucking thing wrong, but everything's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you get it?
Yeah.
It's like this addict brain sucks, man.
That does.
I want to get your opinion because I know we distribute Narcan here at Parents and Addicts in Need. And I know that you several times Narcan brought you back, and kind of some of your thoughts on Narcan and making it more available to the public.
Oh, I think Narcan, just from my personal experience of me getting brought back to life, never mind all the people that I have had to administrate Narcan to, it's amazing. I think with what's going on in the world today, the problem's not getting any better. It's just been getting worse and worse every year. The stats are just getting worse. And I think everybody should have it. I think I have 2 in my car right now. I have a couple in my room. I think I've told you this story before, but like the one time that I overdosed in my car in the parking lot of the hospital after my best friend passed away, and I was dead in my car. A stranger walked by, saw me with the needle still in my arm, just happened to have Narcan on him.
Wow.
Opened my door, hit me with Narcan, got me back up, didn't say a word to me, just walked away. And I'm like coming to, and I'm like, yo. And he just turns around, smiles, doesn't say a word, and just keeps walking.
Wow.
And like, what are the chances of that?
Right.
It's like, yeah, fucking Narcan saves lives.
Yeah.
I think it should be everywhere.
Yeah. I agree with that, Vinny, but I didn't for a long time. I'm kind of old school, and I'm not going to get into the whole story, but there was a point back, I want to say 7, 8, 9 years ago, where my philosophy was if parents are allowing their kids to use heroin or whatever it is in the house, and they're paying for everything, and enabling, and now the kids got Narcan in there. Why would we ever want to get clean?
For sure.
But today it's a different story with fentanyl and the other drugs like ISO and I'm going to mention a couple other drugs here in a minute. It's imperative that everybody has Narcan in their house, in their office, in their car. I don't give a shit where it is. And we give it away for free because it is that important. Now, of course, that brings up a whole nother area of topics that need to be discussed as far as treatment goes. Simply because, look, Narcan's going to save their life, but it's not going to get them clean. It's a Band-Aid, right? It's a very good Band-Aid.
Yeah.
But if we don't change treatment philosophies, if the insurance companies don't start to change, if this government doesn't start to change and help in this opioid crisis, we're still in the same shithole that we've been in for sure a long time. And so I don't know if you heard of carfentanil, which is okay. Yep. Narcan doesn't even work on carfentanil.
Yep.
You know, and we're seeing it. We're seeing more and more of it, and you're dead before you hit the ground with that shit.
Yeah.
So
it's, I totally get your side of when you didn't believe in it those years ago. I totally understand that. And I see where you're coming from. My thinking behind it, and both of you know, you can't force anybody to get sober. Right. They're only going to get sober when they're ready to get sober. Right. And hopefully that time comes before they die. Right. So it's like the people that are closest to them and love them the most, the only thing that they could do is, love them from a distance and stop enabling them. But I wouldn't consider that as some sort of enabling. It's like more of like, okay, I know my friend or my son or my child is getting loaded and with the shit, like you said, the shit on the streets nowadays, it's super gnarly. Like we just have to take certain safety precautions to make sure that they don't die.
Right.
Everything in our power to make sure that they don't die.
Because we want to give them that one more chance.
For sure. Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. And it's like, like we both said, the shit nowadays, it's insane. Just, I want to say a couple weeks ago down, I don't know if you heard about this, down in Inglewood, they raided this house and there was like 5 million fake pressed Percocet pills that were just all fentanyl.
Right. The M30 pills.
Yeah. The M30 pills, you know, and that's just what's taking people out.
Right. We just had a bust up here in the Valley, down in Tulare County, the 150,000 fentanyl M30 pills, that could possibly kill over 1 million people when you do the math, you know, and of course these two idiots, the judge let them out within 24 hours, you know, thinking that they're 19-year-old, 23-year-old, right. That they're going to come back to their court date. Who's this ass? Yeah. Okay. That thought that was going to happen. But the point is those kinds of busts are taking place all over the United States right now.
Yeah.
It's scary stuff.
Yeah, it's super scary. It's very unfortunate. It's sad. But each year that goes by, it's just getting worse. Yeah. Right. And as far as like a greater scale of like more options for treatment, insurance companies do like changing and all that shit. Like, I feel like we have no control over that.
We don't.
Right. So it's like the only thing that we have control over is just sharing our strength and like our experience. Right. And it's like being of service and that's a reason why I make my story so public. You know, it's like we have a very large following that can see, okay, this dude was living in a porta-potty shooting dope 4 years ago and now he's on TV. Right. So like even like, I know that's a very, like I hit the lottery. It's like more rare than fucking lightning, you getting struck by lightning. Right. And I understand that, but it's like some people will be like, dude, like I get DMs every day, every single day since I've gotten sober and I've built this life. It's, dude, I'm struggling. I'm addicted to heroin and I've seen what you do. I've been following you since the beginning and you're an inspiration. And I hope one day I can get it.
Right.
You know, and like, and that's the reason why I make my story public.
Yeah, you bet.
You know,
you bet.
It's like the only thing I can do. Right. It's, you know, it's like, I'm not going to go fucking like, we can go protest. We can go do all this shit like make treatment more available for people with no money or whatever, you know? And it's like that. I don't think that's going to solve anything. right? The most powerful thing that we could do is just share our strength and hope.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, look, and the older I get, of course, those are some of the issues that we tackle, right here at Pain, and trying to get back, to Washington and even this, Sacramento, and try to talk to these insurance companies, because right now there are policies out there that are giving us, because I own a treatment center as well, Benny, and they're giving us like 20 days for people. Fentanyl addicts, and there's not much we can do in 20 days.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, it takes 30 days just to get the drug out of somebody's system to where they're starting to feel somewhat normal again.
Yeah. I personally think under 6 months isn't even enough time.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more.
And I can only share my personal experience with me. And I also worked in treatment for 3 years. So I know the ins and outs. I know everything about it. When you're somebody like me who was using hard drugs for over 10 years, it's not going to fucking take 6 to 12 months for your brain chemistry to go back to normal.
Yeah. Right.
The cravings might stop. Yeah. The drug use stops, but there's so much more to it. It's your perception of life. It's like your morals. It's everything. So much more than just like stopping the drugs and alcohol. I think it's the easy part.
That's the easy part. Absolutely, it is.
Yeah.
And all that dopamine has to return. All that serotonin has to return.
Yeah.
Your sleep patterns have to return.
Yeah.
And that takes time.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's different for everybody. In fact, it can be anywhere from 1 year to 4 years, depending on what you used, how long you used, what you used with. I mean, all of those things come into play.
For me, I want to say it was a little over a year for me where I felt like I hadn't felt in over a decade. Right. It was my perception of life completely changed. I believed in love again.
Yep.
I believed that not everybody was out for themselves. I believe that, because when you're deep in your addiction for that long, you believe that the world is a very selfish place. And yes, it still can be. Right. But I thought that there was no love, no compassion, no anything positive anywhere.
Right.
Can't trust a soul.
Right.
Look out for yourself. And that's it.
Right.
And it took a little over a year for me to finally, like, my perception and my brain chemistry to just go back to normal.
Yep.
And that was the time period where, like, okay, I'm starting to gain more confidence.
Yeah.
I'm able to look in the mirror and be like, okay, yeah, you're pretty cool, dude. Like you're pretty rad. Right. And that's when shit changed for me.
I remember the day that I woke up and I literally sat up on the edge of my bed and went, oh, so that's what it's like to sleep through the night.
Yeah.
How many years in was that?
Yeah.
Fuck. I mean, that was probably 4 years in. I had a 23-year, Jason knows this. I had a 23-year addiction. And I've been on an opioid since the day I was born because of some medical issues. So I never had a sleep pattern worth a damn to begin with.
Yeah.
But that morning I woke up, it was like the heavens opened up and the light shining in, and that's what it was like to sleep. It's amazing how these bodies of ours work.
Yeah.
But it's different for everybody.
It is different for everybody, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Right.
Yeah.
It's better. Like, my buddy Steve-O, he's somebody who I look up to, not just in the entertainment industry, but as a man in general. Right. In the program, just a good human being. And, he stayed in treatment it was a little under 3 years.
God, good.
And I asked him, I was like, I think I was like a year sober at the time. I was in sober living, and I was like, dude, why would you stay in there for that long? He was just like, oh, easy, dude. I just want to give myself the best chance for long-term sobriety. And when he said that, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. It's like, and that's what, dude, I stayed for a little over 3 years. Right. I was a client, even though and then I started working, but even though I was working, I was still in the sober living there. Right. So I still had accountability. I was still emerged in that life, you know.
Tell us, Vinny, tell our listeners how, because I already know the importance of it, but they're probably tired of hearing it from me. Tell our listeners the importance of sober living and long-term outpatient work.
It's probably it's probably the most important thing besides the steps, right? The steps in the program, right? Because you're surrounding yourself with the fellowship that is going through the same shit that you're going through, and it gives you accountability, right? It gives you structure, it gives you accountability. You have these rules that you have to follow. And I get it, dude. Nobody likes fucking rules. Nobody likes getting told what to do, you know, and especially like, I can only imagine, like when I was working, I'm like telling these kids what they have to do, and they're looking at me and I look like a fucking degenerate, you know, like, and they're probably thinking, why the fuck do I have to listen to you? You know? So like, I get it, but it's that structure that you need, because like, look, dude, before I went into sober living, I didn't know how to make my bed.
Right.
I didn't know how to fold my laundry. I didn't know how to live like a normal person. Right. And yeah, I've gained those like those tools probably in the first year. Right. I was able to like have a full on conversation and look somebody in the eye the whole time, shake somebody's hand nice and firm. I was able to keep my room clean, make my bed every morning, take a shower every day. I learned those things pretty quickly. Right. But the scariest part is like, okay, you're leaving sober living and going into the real life.
Yeah.
You don't just like, now you have like real shit that you have to take care of. You have real life issues. You have thousands of dollars worth of bills. You have like relationships that you have to keep. You have all these things that you have to do. And like, never mind your sobriety, the most important thing, because if you don't have that, fuck everything else.
Right.
Everything's gone. Right. So it's like a blessing and a curse, because even like even today, right? First thing I do when I wake up is I have to make my bed. Right. I'm almost 5 years sober. Lived on my own for 2 years now. Right. First thing I do, I make my bed. And if I don't make my bed, I feel like I'm going to have the worst day. I feel like my whole day is just going to go upside down. And it's a blessing, you know. It's like, oh, and there's this one, it was this Marine that I listened to his speech. He like spoke at a college graduation. I've heard. I listened to this. I listened to it so much, and it's about the importance of little goals, right? And he's like, first thing, make your bed, because that it turns this switch on in your brain that it's like, okay, I just achieved that little goal. Let's achieve more. Right. And it's like, I used to write things down. I still write things down. But when I started doing it, I would write things down to be like, okay, take shower, brush teeth, put on underwear, put on socks, put on this. So when I go through and I finish all these things, I cross it off. Right. And when I do the act of crossing something out physically, not just in my phone or not just in my head, I cross it out. I'm like, okay, one thing done. Let's go to the next. Right. Yeah. You know, it's important. It's the smallest things in life that like eventually come up and make the bigger things.
Right? Well, I think it's the important part that people, now that I'm getting more reaching out to me, that it's not just recovery, it's a process of discovery. Mm-hmm. And the focus here is, well, you know, hey, I can share with you what works for me, but that's also me. You are discovering yourself, what works for you. And it's about the mastery of yourself, not me. Yeah. I mean, you might want to do my effort because, you know, hey, do my best, not your best, at least for a while. Yeah. But then it's get down that path of discovering and mastering you. Our buddy Tony Hoffman was like that. A friend of ours, when I fell off, he was like, hey, tomorrow, make your bed. Right. Okay. And he's like, and keep making your bed. Okay. Yeah. And then it's, you know, he was like, I've mastered brushing my teeth. What the fuck? He's like, because now it's off. I don't think about it anymore. And now, you know, it's the next check. Right.
Yeah. I remember Betty Ford was my last treatment center. And, you know, and I was 45 when I got clean and sober. I remember they set up a temporary sponsor for you in your town. So when I got back, I flew back into Fresno, and there was this guy that looked like Man Mountain Dean. He was 6'6". He was, 300 pounds. And he looks at me and he goes, "You're Flindt." And I go, "Yeah." I go, what's the first thing you want me to do? He goes, "I want you to go to 190 meetings in 190 days.
Yeah.
And I went, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And the guy looks at me and he goes, "No, I'm not fucking kidding you." He says, "If you don't do this, I'm out." Yeah. And I said, "Oh, okay." Since you can kick my ass. Okay.
Yeah.
But I also remember my wife picking me up in a borrowed Jeep Wrangler in March with no top on it. All right. Cause I had 2 brand new Jeep Cherokees repossessed when I was in treatment. She was not a happy woman. And in fact, she never said a word to me from the airport to home. But when we got home, she simply said this. She said, "You are going back to work. You have a family to support. I do care about your meetings, but I don't." She said, "But your ass will be in 190 meetings in 190 days. End of fucking story." And I looked at her and I went, "Yes, dear."
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, that was it. And again, I'm married to the same woman that's just amazing. We just celebrated 43 years.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
And thanks. And I shouldn't be. I mean, that's for damn sure, but the point here is that, you do the next indicated thing. And there's that old saying, what do we have to change about ourselves in recovery? And it's a one-word answer. And that word is everything.
Yeah.
But you're not going to change everything right away.
Oh, no.
We have to learn all over again. You said it, Vinny. We have to learn how to live again. And people misuse that term, because like you said, learning to live again is just that: making your bed, brushing your teeth, okay, apologizing when we're wrong.
That's a big one.
That's a big one for me, because I'm an egotistic son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Okay. And, but I'll tell you what, there's nothing better after about 5 minutes after you apologize. Because when you're apologizing, at least with me, when I'm apologizing, it's like, in my head, I really don't want to do this. Okay. But 5 minutes later, it's like, wow, am I glad I did that?
Yeah. Absolutely. Fuck, man. That's a big one for me today, man. Like just admitting when I'm wrong and apologizing. Right. Shit, dude. That one gets my heart pumping. Yeah, man. It's what I've learned, man. It's really just, look, if you just continue to do the next right thing, and be honest with yourself and everybody around you, and be of service here and there, things just work out.
They do.
I can't explain how. I can't fucking, like, it's not like, it's not science. It's not science. It's just like, it just does, like it's.
Yeah. Vinny, when you say things will work out, again, I got to add this story. You've heard it before. So I started this organization in 2009 with a friend of mine, and he's my best friend. I've known him for 50 plus years. And in 2008, I had my first speaking engagement at a local church. And the night before, I was having major teeth issues, major dental issues because of the opiate use and my diet and everything else. And the night before this speech, a tooth, not the front tooth, but one to the side, just dropped out. Right. So I've got this hole in my mouth, and I got to go speak at this church the following night. So I go over to my buddy's house, and I got my lip over my teeth, and I'm going, "Hey man, I gotta talk tomorrow night." I go, "How does this look?" And he's going, "Oh, it looks perfect, man. You're okay. You're just screwing with me." Right. So I go and I do the speech, and the night after the speech, I go back to his house. He goes, "How did it go?" I go, "Man," it went great. The next day he calls me and he says, and it went just like this. He goes, "Are you happy with your dentist?" And I go, "I don't know." I go, "I guess so. We're trying to figure this out and piecemeal this thing together." And all of a sudden it dawned on me, and I go, no, you're not going to do this. He goes, "Yep, already too late. You got an appointment with my dentist Monday morning at 10 a.m. You're getting all new teeth. Goodbye." Click. And he slams up the phone.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, that was a chunk of money for all implanted teeth.
Yeah.
But you know what? He did it for one reason. He did it because I'd been clean and sober for 8 years or 7 years at that point.
Yeah.
You know, and he did it because I stayed clean and sober.
Yeah.
For sure.
Good things happen when you stay clean and sober.
Yeah. And there's no explanation to it.
There's none. There's none.
I can't tell you why. I can't tell you how. I could tell you how I've done it and why and that thing. But it's like there's been so many situations in my life in the last almost 5 years where I've needed something in my life. Right. Or I've been in a situation where I was struggling, or I didn't know how the next month's rent was going to get paid, or anything like that, and trust me, I get it. It's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
To have faith.
Yeah.
To have faith and just trust
right.
that things will work out.
Right.
Because when you're in a situation and you just feel so overwhelmed, you're just like, oh my God, how's this shit going to happen? Like, I need this, I need that. Like, having faith is one of the hardest things to do when you're overwhelmed like that.
Right.
But it just still has worked out. And like I said in the very beginning, it's just like, I have to live every day in gratitude
and that's so hard getting it across to this younger generation.
Oh, for sure.
Because they want everything now. They want it. They wanted it yesterday, and they can't seem. And again, it's because of their age, and I get all that. But getting clean at 45, and Jason knows this. I lost everything. I lost the houses. I lost the cars. I lost the money. I lost everything. Well, you know what? I'll tell these young people, look, if you've got X amount of money that you owe and you have to pay back, you start out by paying somebody $10 a month. Who cares? And even if the company says we're not going to accept it, you pay it anyway. All right. You pay it. You do the best that you can. And if you stay that course, stay that the drive that you have to get better, this thing will turn around. Most of us have it all back again.
Yeah.
But it takes work. Yeah. There
so much work. Oh, so much fucking work. Yeah.
Right.
It's
right.
It's so much work, and it does get easier the longer you do it. Right.
It does.
But it's going to be an everyday thing for the rest of my life until I die. Right. Yeah. I could remember when things kind of like flipped the switch in my brain, right? It was that day when I was able to look in the mirror and finally say, I love the person who I'm looking at.
Right.
Right. That was the day where things turned. I looked at everything differently, and I was able to attack life and just move forward. And I swear when I say this, it's so easy to just be honest with yourself and everybody around you.
Mm-hmm.
You just do the next right thing. Right. And it just, and I'm a huge believer in manifestation too.
Yeah.
I'm a huge believer in that. I'm a huge believer in things happen for a reason. Never was before I got sober. But there have been things that have happened in my life that I cannot fucking explain.
Right? Well, and I think what's interesting, in us becoming buddies is you weren't overly fixed on the destination. You accepted that there's a journey through the process and a lot of unaccountable things. But you, like you said, you had that vision of what you wanted to do.
Oh, for sure.
But so much other shit came along the way. It's not just, well, I want to go work with Steve-O from Jackass and Zackass and start and do all these different. It was somebody went, hey, dude, I'm a skater. I heard you do videography. Will you shoot my video? Yeah. And it was the way that you just kind of built off of being yourself.
Well, it even kind of happened a little bit more different than that. It was more of like I didn't come to Los Angeles to try to be famous or to try to be on TV or to work with my idols. That dream went away years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I've been wanting. I've had this dream of being famous and working with the Jackass guys and being on TV and being in Thrasher magazine since I was 10 years old. But that dream went away probably around 25.
Mhm.
Right. I didn't come out here to look for that. I honestly forgot about that dream. And when I came out, the main sole reason why I came out here is because somebody offered to fly me out here to go to treatment. In my head, I'm like, fuck your treatment. I'll go to your treatment center, but I'm just going to use your flight to just get to California because it's easier to be homeless.
Right.
That's the only reason why I came to Los Angeles.
I'll be damned.
The only fucking reason. It wasn't to get sober. It wasn't to try to get famous. It wasn't to do anything. It was just because it was easier to be homeless.
Yeah.
That's it.
Wow.
And somehow I got put in a situation where I met Zach in sober living. And it was, I might have told you this story before. Maybe, I don't know, but I was still, my mom was still paying for my health insurance. So I was taking advantage of that. I'd be on the streets for a few weeks and I'd go in and out just to sleep in a bed for a few days, eat some food. Right.
Yeah.
And then I would just leave. I would either leave or get kicked out or whatever. And the last place where I ended up getting kicked out, I had this experience on the front yard, and I was waiting for my Uber. I had a couple bucks in my pocket. I was going to go get a hotel room and get high. And I had this experience of, I heard my best friend who passed from an overdose 4 years before that. I heard a very vivid whisper from him saying enough was enough.
Mm-hmm.
It was so vivid to the point where it scared the shit out of me. Like, am I hallucinating? Am I losing my fucking mind?
Right.
And it scared me enough to pick up the phone and be like, and call the program director and be like, hey, dude, give me one more shot. Still no intentions of getting sober. It was more of like, okay, that scared the shit out of me.
Right.
Let me just go back into another house.
Right.
And I called him. He's like, I don't know, dude, you've been kicked out of almost every place. I got one more spot for you. Puts me in another house. And that's where Zach was.
Wow.
I knew who he was. He had a little bit of internet popularity at the time. And he saw one of my tattoos and he was like, oh, you have the heartogram tattooed on your arm. I was like, yeah. He goes, all right, me and you are going to be friends. and he needed a filmer at the time. And I grew up filming skateboarding. And so he invited me to go to film one of the videos. And he's like, all right, let's go film. If I see that you know what you're doing, you could be a part of the crew. And we went and filmed. The video blew up. My name was attached to it. All my idols were liking, commenting, sharing all this shit. And I'm like tripping out. I'm like, how is a video that I just filmed getting seen and my idols, Tony Hawk, like
right.
Bam, all these people are like commenting and shit. And my name is right on the video.
Right.
So it was tripping me out. Right. And then he's like, all right, yeah, welcome to the crew. And then it was just like one thing after another. It was just like a snowball effect of like, one thing, I'm traveling around the country filming commercials for an MTV show. Next thing you know, we're getting flown to Pennsylvania to go film at Bam's house. Next thing you know, we're working with Steve, and it was just like one thing after another. And I wasn't working the steps. I was just staying sober because I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. I'll get high later on.
Right.
You know? And then eventually I started working the steps and I started working at the treatment center and eventually that's when the flip switched. And next thing you know, like we're fucking Zach's in the movie Jackass. I have my own TV show on TV right now. I just was in Thrasher magazine, like all these things that I have like bucket list shit that I used to write down when I was 10 years old. Like this past year, I've checked off so many things. It's cool. It's fucking insane. It's insane. My Tepper, my buddy Chad Tepper, one of my best friends, he just headlined the Roxy, right? And the Roxy bought us this sick hotel room right on Sunset, and we're out on the balcony looking over Hollywood. And I start tearing up, and I turn around and I'm like, dude, I think we could officially say that we've made it, you know? and I'm like, we like, I know we don't have all the money in the world, but like we have done everything that we have fucking dreamed about.
Right.
Like you're headlining the Roxy right now, one of the most legendary venues in the world, you know? And like you're headlining the Roxy while we have a TV show out right now. I just got back from touring with Steve-O. Zach just did the #1 movie in the world. like I think we could say we've made it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I owe it all to my sobriety.
And I was just going to say, I mean, it's all because you stayed sober.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, that's it. You know, I have this saying, Jason knows it, you know what, I've already been to hell. So everything from that point on, it just is looking up.
Yeah. Well, and Vinny, you did also get Sofia Vergara going, oh my goodness, what is he doing? So, you know, that's kind of a cool bonus, you know, in reality. Dude, throw that in there.
Can I tell that story real quick?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I just got back from, I was at the Sausage Castle in Florida, Mike Busey's Sausage Castle filming. I did the slip and slide loop.
Yeah.
And I just get back. I'm on my way home from the airport. And my buddy Curtis from Lazy Generation, they're a stunt group from the UK. Never met him before. It was we've only had a friendship from the internet. He's like, "Hey man, we're in town and we're filming America's Got Talent. You want to be in this with us?" And I was like, "Fucking duh, yeah, of course I want." And I'm like, "When is it?" He goes, "Right now." I'm like, "Wait, what?" He goes, "Yeah, you got to get here right now." So I fly to Pasadena. I'm driving so fast to Pasadena, and I get there. I go right into rehearsals, right? The next day is performing in front of 3,000 people. and we're doing, it was the most nerve-wracking thing. Cause like, I mean, we've done live stunt shows before, never in front of 3,000 people, you know, maybe most 400.
Right.
But I've never, public speaking scares the shit out of me. Like even when I have to speak at meetings or when I get to speak at meetings, I stutter, I sweat, my palms start to get wet. Like it's bad. And like now I'm like in front of 3,000 people in front of America's Got Talent. And now it's televised over millions of TV screens. Like I've gotten more recognition from that fucking show than I have my own television show, you know? And yeah, we were all so nervous, and we did our bit. Sophia hit the X during our bit, and then it was up to the rest of the judges, and Howie said yes, Heidi said yes, and it was up to Simon. Simon stands up, gives us a standing ovation. He's like, it reminded me of the British Ballet. It was beautiful but chaotic. Like, okay, sick. And like we did it. It was a joke. Like we weren't expecting to make it through the next round. It was all kind of making fun of the TV show, you know? Sure. And when he said, yeah, congratulations, we look at each other. We're like, huh? Like, now we have to do the live show. The next round it's broadcasted live on television. There's no, like you film it and then they edit it. It's live. So there's no room for error, you know? And we have to go back at the end of August to film that. And I'm just like, God damn it. We have no idea what we're doing. We have no idea. Like all these other groups and contestants have been like practicing every day for the last month. And we haven't even talked about it.
I mean, I can just picture you like, just have Vinny try to jump over us.
Yeah. Like the only thing that I know is like because Simon said it reminded him of the British Ballet. There's going to be some tutus involved. That's all I can say.
I love it.
Yeah. That's going to be great.
Oh, hell. Oh, man. Hey, this has been always a pleasure catching up with you.
Yeah, man.
If people want to find out more about what you got going on, the handle,
you could you could follow me on Instagram at Skinny Vinny. You could definitely check out What the Fudge podcast, even though we are not doing any more as of right now. But I am starting a new podcast with my buddy Ian, aka Disco Plug, and it's going to be called Forget About It, and that should be out sometime in the next month. We're still getting some loose ends tied up and some things put together, and then you can catch our television show, Your Pranks Our Show. The season finale was 2 weeks ago, but you could watch it on demand on the Fail Army app. You could watch it on Pluto TV, Samsung TV, all those streaming apps on your smart TV. And then I just found out we got greenlit for season 2. So stay tuned for that.
Nice.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Good stuff.
We're gonna get, if you need a older gentleman to do some stunts, we'll get Flindt in there.
Hey, Vinny, I'll try anything twice.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So Flindt, I'm gonna hit you with this tennis racket covered in glass shards.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm all in.
Hey man, I'm proud of you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. It feels good to hear that from people, because sometimes I'll get into this mindset where it's like, fuck, dude, I've been grinding so hard.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels like it's not getting recognized. Sometimes, the fucking algorithm will fuck with my head. Excuse my swearing so much, but it's like, sometimes I'll be like, dude, I'm doing all this for what? For likes and numbers on social media? Like, it drives me nuts, But so it feels good to hear that from people. So thank you.
You know what, Vinny, even at my age, it feels good, to hear that. And I actually heard it from a friend of mine at the golf course a couple of weeks ago, and it was just out of the blue.
Yeah.
And, when we don't get it, and we're still human, and we do like to hear it, but it's important that we all let each other of us know in recovery that, hey, we are proud of each other. Okay. And what we're doing, because you start looking at the numbers of who is staying sober and who are, those are sad numbers, man. Yeah. And so, the people that we associate with, and if you're doing a good job, hell yeah, we're proud of each and every one of us.
Yeah. It's real quick before we end this. I've the last few months I have dealt with two very, very close friends relapse, and in front of my eyes things are just crumbling around.
Right.
And part of me is like, oh my God, I have to save him, or all this stuff. And then it's like fucking with my mental state and my sobriety and all this shit. Right. And just recently I had to talk with Steve and a couple other people, and you have to love these people from a distance and allow them to experience whatever they're experiencing, So it's it's been a very, very difficult few months dealing with that. But just within these last couple of weeks, I've come to the acceptance of okay, you need to experience whatever you're going through right now.
Right. Yeah.
And hopefully you fucking snap out of it before you die, or something happens,
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a daily fucking thing, dude. And it sucks, but again, I'm grateful for everything.
You bet. Vinny, thank you so much for joining us. This has been the highlight, of not only my day, my week, my month, man. I am just thrilled. You're the best, man. Brother. You are the best. Thank you so much.
And thanks for having me on, guys. Thank you.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call Parents and Addicts in Need at 559-579-1551 or check us out online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media at Pain Nonprofit. Please subscribe to the podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts. To donate, please click the link in the description and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.
This podcast contains the views and opinions of hosts and their guests to the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for informational purposes only. And because each person is sharing their unique perspective, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast and website are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. Privacy is of the utmost importance to us. For those wishing anonymity, people, places, and scenarios mentioned in the podcast have been changed to protect confidentiality at the request of certain guests. This website or podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever, including but not limited to establishing standard of care in a legal sense or as a basis for expert witness testimony. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast or website. In no way does listening, reading, emailing, or interacting on social media with our content establish a doctor-patient relationship. If you find any errors in any of the content of this podcast or blogs, please send a message through the contact page.